Trump instilled fear after Iran tried to use Oman as a gateway and the terrorist group Houthis as a threat against Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates. This Friday, June 5th, 2026, Washington identified a move that could turn a negotiation into a brutal trap in the Gulf. The Iranian terrorist regime tried to escape military and economic pressure by opening another front, not only with ships and drones, but also with banks, trade routes, pressure on Oman, and the threat of militias in Yemen. Trump reacted forcefully because he understood that neutrality used to favor Tehran becomes a risk for the entire region. What was Iran trying to hide? Why did Oman become a central piece? How did Trump wage this new war? I'll tell you all about it in a moment. If you like this kind of straightforward and no-nonsense content, consider subscribing because we have videos like this every day. The Trump administration put Oman on alert after signs emerged that Tehran wanted to create a toll system for ships passing through the Strait of Hormuz. The Iranian idea was simple and dangerous. The United States Treasury has already sanctioned the so-called Persian Gulf Strait Authority, identified by Washington as a structure linked to the Revolutionary Guard, to collect fees, direct vessels, and force ships to follow instructions, ultimately to people, to services. The regime was trying to create a new rule at sea, as if it could decide who passes, how much they pay, and under what authorization. For Trump, this is not diplomacy. It's blackmail over oil, gas, trade, and security. That's why the warning was harsh. Any actor involved directly or indirectly in this attempt to charge could be punished. Oman got the message because it's in the most sensitive area of this discussion and because its position has always been used as a bridge between Americans and Iranians. Oman tried to put out the fire quickly. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessant said he spoke with the Omani ambassador in Washington and received assurance that the Sultanate had no plans to charge a toll in the Strait of Hormuz. This retreat shows the effect of the pressure. It forced Oman to explain itself before the Iranian plan gained traction and became a done deal in the heart of the Gulf. Iran tried to exploit exactly this opening. For years, Oman served as a mediator in delicate talks between Washington and Tehran. This position gave the Sultanate an image of neutrality. But neutrality in the midst of an economic and maritime war can become cover for the wrong side when a sanctioned regime tries to use the channel to breathe. The situation became even more serious because the conflict left the diplomatic field and entered the Gulf of Oman. Iran stated this Friday that it fired warning missiles and drones at US warships, accusing the American Navy of approaching vessels and oil tankers linked to sanctioned networks. Washington, in turn, reported that it intercepted a flagless and sanctioned ship in the Indian Ocean as part of an operation to cut off illicit networks supporting Iran. That's where the Houthis come in. The threat of opening a front from Yemen against Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates does not appear as a show of pure strength, but as an attempt to multiply the cost of the war. The Houthis have already served as a pressure tool against ships in the Red Sea and regional infrastructure. If they are activated again in a bigger crisis, Saudi Arabia may once again face attacks against strategic facilities, and the United Arab Emirates could be targeted by drones and missiles. The Iranian goal would be, of course, to take the pressure off Tehran and instill fear in the Gulf nations. The Houthis, also known as Ansar Allah, are a terrorist and armed group from Yemen, aligned with the Iranian Axis, who control the capital, Sana'a, and much of the north of the country, where about 60 to 65% of the Yemeni population lives. They emerged strongly in the 2000s, took Sana'a in 2000 and 2014, and overthrew the internationally recognized government in 2015, prompting a military intervention led by Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates. Today, they operate mainly in Yemen, the Red Sea, the Gulf of Aden, and near the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, a vital route for global trade. The group has already launched drones and missiles against Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, Israel, and commercial ships in the Red Sea, causing the diversion of maritime routes, increased costs, and direct pressure on global trade. That's why, when Iran threatens to activate the Houthis, the message is clear. Tehran doesn't just want to pressure Israel or the United States, it also wants to set Gulf shipping routes ablaze and hit Washington's strategic allies through the back door. Trump realized this logic before it took hold. Iran wanted three moves at the same time: use Oman as political cover, use Hormuz as a toll booth, and use the Houthis as a military threat. This combination could block ships, raise prices, pressure American allies, and force Washington to negotiate under blackmail. Trump's response was to instill fear on the other side, warning that the United States would not accept Iranian tolls nor any regional partner helping to give this system a sense of normalcy. But the Iranian strategy also reveals weakness. A secure regime doesn't need to hide maritime tolls behind a new authority. It doesn't need to pressure Oman to appear moderate. It doesn't need to threaten Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates through militias in Yemen. Iran is trying to compensate for the loss of economic freedom with indirect warfare. It's trying to trade real power for calculated chaos. The developments in Oman also exposes the problem of the old mediation policy in the Middle East. For a long time, some leaders believed it was possible to talk to everyone, please everyone, and not pay any price. Trump is saying that those days are over. Anyone who helps Iran evade sanctions is on the radar. Anyone who facilitates tolls in Hormuz is at risk. Anyone who turns neutrality into a bridge for the Revolutionary Guard stops being just a mediator and becomes part of the problem. The Omani port of Mina al-Fahal also came onto the market's radar this Friday after reports of a possible disruption near docking points. Oman stated that operations were continuing normally and the price of oil fell after this confirmation. The White House knows that Iran tries to turn every maritime crisis into a bargaining chip. If ships become unsafe, oil prices go up. If oil prices go up, the global economy feels it. If the economy feels it, governments start to push for an agreement. They are betting on this cycle. Trump is trying to break this cycle by cutting off the money, punishing the extortion machinery, and warning Oman before the Sultanate is used as a diplomatic shield. The next step depends on three fronts. The first is for Oman to keep a real distance from the Iranian proposal and prove that its neutrality will not be used to finance the Revolutionary Guard. The second is for Iran to decide whether it will continue provoking American ships in the Gulf of Oman while losing economic ground. The third is the role of the Houthis, who could turn a dispute in Hormuz into a double crisis in the Red Sea and the Gulf. If this front is opened against Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates, the war stops being just maritime pressure and becomes a regional siege. Washington does not want Tehran to set the rules of the sea, which is why the reaction was so harsh. The crisis now puts Oman in a delicate position: to continue as a respected mediator or to allow Tehran to use its position to buy time. Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates are also watching the risk of a Houthi front reigniting attacks that seemed under control. Iran is trying to push the region into a game of fear. Trump responded with maximum pressure to prevent Hormuz from becoming a toll, Oman from becoming a shield, and the Houthis from becoming the new weapon of blackmail against the Gulf. I'm Milson Alves, an international affairs specialist, and my purpose is to keep you well informed with the truth every day. The news links are in the video description. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and at the end, check out the comments so you can be even more engaged with the Milson Alves community.